So this is the new OnePlus 5T, or rather, this is the box for the OnePlus 5T, which comes out just a few months after the OnePlus 5 was launched. Inside you'll get the usual OnePlus flavoured group of accessories and extras. There's the attractive thick red USB-C cable for delivering that tasty fast charging dash charge power, which comes via the included wall adapter. As usual, there are no headphones, but under the phone's cradle in a slim box you'll find a transparent silicone case. You'll also find the SIM ejector tool, which is probably the only thing that hasn't changed since the very first OnePlus One. There's the usual paperwork, including the quick start guide and safety instructions, and more importantly, stickers. Because who doesn't love those? While the plain silicone case is the only free one included, OnePlus will be selling a selection of other options. That includes the usual wood finishes, the soft touch carbon fibre design, and a bright red silicone case, as well as the classic sandstone black. Looking at the phone, its aesthetics have stayed largely the same as before. The body is made from a solid piece of aluminium and finished in the midnight black colouring, complete with its anti-fingerprint properties. There's a dual camera and a dual LED flash, as well as a ceramic fingerprint sensor that's stupidly fast on the back. Now, this dual camera system is a 16 megapixel sensor and a 20 megapixel sensor similar to before, except this time the secondary 20 megapixel sensor has an f-stop 1.7 aperture lens for better low light performance. Now, the SIM tray and the power button sits on the right edge, while the Type-C port, loudspeaker and 3.5mm jack are on the bottom. The metal is curved towards the edges, like last time, to give it that really comfortable thin in-hand feel. And you'll find the volume rocker switch on the left edge with the alert slider. While it's similar to the OnePlus 5, there are some differences. That fingerprint sensor on the back for starters, and the dual camera housing is shaped differently. Interestingly, the new phone is ever so slightly longer and wider than the OnePlus 5. And of course, the reason the fingerprint sensor is on the back is because the biggest change has forced it. There's now a 6.01 inch 18:9 ratio screen on the front, and it's a bright 2160 by 1080p optic AMOLED panel that's full of colour and contrast. Now, this extra screen of course means there's not as much bezel on the top or the bottom. Now, one other new feature is Face Unlock. Now, with the camera on the front, the phone can recognise you using 100 different data points. It's not as secure as using a fingerprint sensor, but it is fast and it's easy to set up. On the software side, it's Android Nougat based Oxygen OS with a couple of new home screen options alongside the previous settings. Inside, just like the OnePlus 5, it has a Snapdragon 835 processor, and you get either 6GB or 8GB of RAM, depending on whether you chose the 64 or the 128GB storage option. There's also the same 3300 mAh battery. Now, the phone goes on sale in this colour only from November 21st, and pricing is the same as before. It's £449 for 64GB or